China and India are facing off on their border. How far will the two nuclear-armed countries be willing to go? Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. You know how they say that good fences make good neighbors? Well, you'd think that China would be the best neighbor ever. But alas, no. Maybe more fences are needed. The CCP is ramping up infrastructure projects near the Himalayas in disputed territories. In other words, claiming Indian territory by building on their land. For example, recent satellite images show that China has completed a dam in southern Tibet. That river is a huge freshwater supply for Nepal and India, where it has a different name. New Delhi and Beijing have sparred for years over the construction of several dams on the Chinese side of the border that would deny millions of people in India access to fresh water. It's also a sacred river. It flows through an Indian town that's considered the birthplace of Hindu hero Rama. So the CCP is creating a huge dam problem for India. But China is also quietly expanding its land grabs in the Himalayas of Bhutan near India. Bhutan is its own country, but it's tiny and can't really do much to stand up to the CCP. So when China makes claims within Bhutan, it's really a threat to India. This is what's called salami slicing. The CCP takes over territory slice by slice, things too small to trigger a big reaction, so they keep pushing until suddenly they claim an entire ocean. So China's salami slicing near the Indian border. The CCP has also been systematically building villages on the southern border of the Tibetan Autonomous Region. Then there's China's so-called String of Pearls, a series of port and infrastructure projects in the Indian Ocean. It's clear that this is about boxing in and weakening India, as well as cementing the CCP's illegal conquest of Tibet. And the thing is, a lot of this infrastructure is what's called dual use. It can have a civilian purpose, it can also have a military one. All these roads China is building in Tibet, they can also get troops to the Indian border a lot quicker. And these new towns China is building, well, they're not just building towns. China is also building helicopter bases and landing pads in Tibet, right near the disputed Arunachal Pradesh area. All of these are approved for civilian use, but they've been built near Chinese military bases. Total coincidence, of course. And just to rub salt in the wound, China has even renamed 30 towns and villages in Arunachal Pradesh to reflect China's claims to the territory. Wow, I guess China's so behind on the times they didn't get the memo about cultural appropriation. So how is India responding to all of this? I'll let you know right after this commercial break. Welcome back. So China is building several dams and expanding its infrastructure in Tibet near the contested Indian border. All of this is meant to intimidate, isolate, and weaken China's strongest regional rival. China and India have been having border disputes for years. Chinese officials have said that they hope the two sides can meet halfway on the issue. But both countries fought a bloody war 62 years ago that resulted in the current stalemate after India failed to defeat China militarily. Several flare-ups in the late 2010s culminated in a bloody skirmish between the two Asian powers in 2020. In 2022, Chinese military upgrades near the border were viewed as provocative in India. And new information shows that the two countries clashed twice in 2022, even as peace talks were on. And that's not all. Last year, both countries added sophisticated weapons and tanks made especially for high-altitude combat. As an aside, a lot of people talk about how China is threatening the US with an alternative economic power alliance called BRICS. India is part of it. Don't think that's going to go too well. China and India are currently holding talks regarding Himalaya border issues. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that either side is willing to budge, which is all India's fault. Thanks, Global Times. There's a reason it's my favorite state-run media. Boy, as if we didn't have enough big wars in Europe and the Middle East that could threaten a third world war, now we have two giant nuclear countries in Asia on the brink. That just shows how dangerous this all is. But India isn't about to take it lying down. India is focusing on modernizing its military while building up its side of the Himalaya border. And last month, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visited Arunachal Pradesh, which the CCP calls Zangnan, or South Tibet, inaugurating a new tunnel. The tunnel has been hailed as an engineering feat since it's 13,000 feet high, and blasted through the Himalayas. I wonder if the engineers were singing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" while building it. The tunnel would make it easier for the Indian military to quickly access the disputed border region, just in case China decides to pull anything else. So tensions are higher than ever. And that's why the Indian government has provided several warnings to the CCP, saying, whether from land, air, or sea, if anyone attacks India, our forces will respond firmly. New Delhi is also increasing its military presence in the area, which China has predictably condemned, just like they condemned Modi's visit to the region in the first place. Yikes! Looks like the only bricks China is getting are those involved in building military tunnels. India is also trying to strengthen its security ties with its Asian neighbors, such as the Philippines and Bhutan, that are also dealing with Chinese border disputes. China, of course, is none too happy about that, with one Chinese academic warning that Bhutan's friendship with India is not helping Tibet border talks. But then China is always unhappy, and no wonder. The CCP is dealing with a collapsing birth rate, an economy in trouble, and planning for a potential invasion of Taiwan. For years, it invested heavily in its String of Pearls and Belt and Road initiative to contain India and keep it down. Now, India's population has surpassed China's, which is steadily shrinking. New Delhi's economy is growing as it moves closer to the West and its allies. The good news for the CCP, unfortunately, is that it has something of a military and an economic head start on India, particularly in the Himalayas. India's economy and military will need years of reforms and advancement in order to match the People's Liberation Army, let alone surpass it. And that's to say nothing of India's often poorly developed infrastructure. There was an incident late last year where a Himalayan tunnel collapsed, trapping 41 workers, which required an enormous rescue effort. India's literally going to have to move mountains to make a difference here. Now, hold on to your horses, because I've got a video to show you that will blow your mind. But first, this episode of China Uncensored was brought to you by you, fans who supported the show on patreon.com/China Uncensored. All it takes is $1 or more an episode. I make about 16 episodes a month, but if that's too much for you, you can set a monthly limit. So you can ensure I can keep uncensoring China for even $1 a month. And as a thank you to everyone who gives on Patreon, I'll respond to one of your comments at the end of these episodes. Today's comes from Renee W. The whole world has to submit to the ESG scheme of Klaus Schwab, except for the greatest polluter in the world. Okay, fair enough. In the West, we are also culpable for all of it because we want cheap goods from China. Renee, I'm glad you brought that up. There's a really fascinating history with Klaus Schwab in China. In 2022, Xi Jinping even gave a major speech at Davos. And the way they used ESG, a type of investing that focuses on environmental, social, and governance goals, played a huge role in giving the CCP the money it needed to become the global threat it is today. I recently did an episode all about that scheme, and I really recommend everyone check it out. I'll put a link down below. Thank you for your support, Renee. And now here is that video I want to show you. It's from my new show, Deep Thoughts While Gaming, where I hide controversial topics in gaming content, and this one is about RimWorld, a game where you can harvest the organs of prisoners. China's not going to like it, but I hope you do. Let me know what you think. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.